Looking for some basic tips on how to use both assistive and mainstream technology in general? Check out the Teachavision section on our website.
The opinions expressed on Teachavision are solely those of the guests and hosts and do not represent other companies or third parties. Thank you for listening.
Hello, and welcome to Teachavision, a podcast by Screenless Allies, where everyone has a different vision of learning. And now, here's your host, Jose Briceño.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Teachavision, episode number 57. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you for those that are new that listen to this podcast. Shout out to all of you. Please keep spreading the news. Please tell your friends, your coworkers, whoever you think might benefit from this podcast if they're looking for entertainment and education about the blindness world and other topics. Check out this podcast for sure. Thank you to those that have done that already. And today, the same story repeats from last year. I, Jose, came back from New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans, as they say down there. And we went to the National Federation of the Blind's annual convention that is held down there. If you remember from last year, NFB is an advocacy organization for blind people in the United States. And again, we did not go for the politics. We went to go look at the exhibits and technology. We had the same crew as last year. We encourage you to go check out the bonus episode from last year regarding the convention, where you had my buddy Edgar and Alyssa Minwell and Ahmed Albahar. We had the same crew this year, but we did not sit down to record an episode like we did last year. Sorry about that. We do apologize because I know that was actually pretty fun to do, but we did not do that this year. So instead, we're going to do a Jose Rambles edition of the podcast where I tell you my favorite exhibits and what's to expect this year in the education sector for the blind in regards to assistive technology. So without any further ado, let's get on with the show right here on Teachavision by Screenless Allies. So we're going to start you guys off with the braille display section of my favorite exhibits. Now, the braille display, for those that are new, is basically a one-line set of braille cells for the blind that can be connected to a computer, and some displays have internal applications that will let you do like note-taking and things like that. We will put these in the show notes so that way you know exactly what we're talking about. You can click on them and you can go check out the pictures because we don't do pictures here. So anyway, this year, what do we have in braille displays? Well, this year, the company Humanware that makes the Brilliant series and the Mantis Q series, which is the QWERTY braille display, they have announced a couple of updates to their display units. And this includes the ability to look up words in different sources on the displays. They stated that there will be 3 sources that you can use to look up words in a dictionary of some sort. One of them was actually called Wiktionary, and there are 2 more that I cannot remember off the top of my head right now. So you have to stay tuned for the fall update for these braille displays. Frankly, and this is just my personal opinion, we are really hopping out of a braille display and turning this device into a full-on specialized note taker for the blind. For those that don't know what a note taker is, it's basically a stripped-down computer with nothing but blindness-specific features that are, well, tethered to work with that. So word processors, email applications, and things like that. And I feel like that's where we're going with these Brilliant braille displays and the Mantis Q braille displays is we're getting more into a full-on note taker. And this is just my personal opinion. You guys can disagree. That's fine. So that's the new update on that. They also released an update to their Victor Reader Stream digital talking book player, the tiny one. So for those that don't know what that is, it is a specialized book player. So think of your Kindle, but for the blind. So where you can actually download books from libraries that are specialized for the blind. And it's basically a tiny device that has a telephone-style keypad, and you control it with that, and it talks, and you can read books and newspapers and pretty much anything else. The notable change on this update is the ability to rename notes. For those of you that know what those are, they're the voice memos part of the stream. You can now changed the name from Note 1 to Teacher Lecture or things like that. So that is actually the most notable update, of course, as a lot of apps on the iOS App Store and Android Store say also bug fixes and improvements. Continuing on with Braille products, we got to stop by the Help Tech booth, which actually was Dream Vision Group. Shout out to Damien, Mike, and Jennifer. While I was not able to see Damien, Jennifer, and Mike, I did get to talk to Siggy Kipke, who is the head honcho at Help Tech in Germany. Because remember, Dream Vision Group distributes these Braille displays, and they got to show me the Activator Pro 64 series. For those of you that don't remember, the Activator is a hybrid Braille display, at least for the 40, where you can connect it to your phone, and it's a smart dock, and you can do pretty much a lot of things with your phone. It doesn't have any lookup words or anything like that in the dictionary or anything to that effect. If you want to know more information about that, I did do a 2-part review on the Activator. Please go check it out after this episode so you can get a little bit more information about what this does. There are 2 variants. As I said on the review, there was a 64 and an 80 cell version of these displays, and this year they were showcasing the 64 and 80. Of course, the 40 is still there, and it got some pretty good attention on that as well, but they're definitely still showcasing that. So honestly, those displays, like I said on the reviews, are really the way to go. Continuing with the companies that make the Braille displays, we're going to now talk about Orbit Research. They're the ones that make the economical Braille displays. And again, their website will be on the show notes so you can see what we're talking about. This year, while they weren't focusing so much on new Braille updates, they were focusing on a new toy. But this is not an actual Braille display. This is a digital talking book player, just like the Victor Reader Stream that we talked about at the beginning of the file. This is the Orbit player, and it is $300. And as of this episode, this device is already shipping. Now, notice I said $300. These other devices that I mentioned, like the Stream, is about $450. So you can tell that they're trying to make a competitor that is cheaper, but it's supposed to do pretty much everything that the Victor Reader Stream can do. So download books, read different libraries like Bookshare and things like that, magazines, listen to music. So you have basically a very cheap version of these players. Like I said, we don't know much about it because we didn't get to tinker around with it as much as we wanted to, but the fact that they are making a cheap player is really nice for those that cannot afford the higher end players. So if you're looking for something that is economical, go look at the Orbit player because it is a pretty good little sleek device. It's about the size of a pack of gum. Moving on from the Orbit player, a quick update on another device we talked about last year. It was called the Optima. This display was basically a computer inside a Braille display body. So it takes off the screen. It's just a QWERTY keyboard, and all the smarts are in there. And basically, it was a full-fledged computer, and it has Windows on it, and it's really nice. We mentioned last year during the roundtable that we were told by Orbit Research themselves that it was going to come out this year. Unfortunately, due to circumstances in the Middle East, because it is being made in Israel, it is being delayed until another time. We don't have an exact timeline on that, and so stay tuned if we ever find out when that's coming out, because honestly, that's still going to be a great tool for people that are looking for a computer without having to deal with the hassle of screens or a laptop in general. You actually have a specialized computer that does not have any kind of Braille special note taker features. It's just a full-on computer with a 40-cell Braille display out there. And I think that once this device comes out, it will definitely benefit a lot of professionals and students alike.
Want honest, non-influenced reviews over assistive and mainstream technology from a blind person's perspective? Check out the Teachability reviews on our website.
Alrighty, we're going to talk about something new. Last year, during the roundtable episode, we talked about multi-line Braille displays. Now, Braille displays, for those that are new, only come in one row of cells. That could be 20, that could be 40, that could be 64, that could be 80, as you heard a little bit ago. But now, we said last year that the technology hasn't evolved quite yet for multi-line Braille. Well, this year, the technology has made a step forward. And this is with two displays that we're going to talk about right now. Of course, we did mention the Orbit Slate last year, and that is still an item that is available. As a quick recap, the Orbit Slate can be bought in two different sizes. There is a 3-line by 40 cell display that is $4,295, or a 5-line of 20 cells each line for $3,695. They both do the same thing, but those were the first multi-line displays that came out a couple of years ago that Orbit Research was showcasing. But now we're going to talk about the Monarch, which is one of the braille displays that is out this year, and the Canute, which was actually showcased by Dancing Dot down there. Yes, we ran into Mr. Bill McCann this year after many years of not talking in person, and it was honestly a great experience. Shout out to Mr. Bill. Thank you for taking your time and hanging out with me and talking to me and showing me the Canute braille display, which we'll talk about first. Now, this display is a braille e-reader. So basically, it doesn't have any capabilities of connecting to a computer quite yet. I hear that they're working on it, and that's really cool. But for now, you can load a file onto an SD card or a thumb drive and open it and read 9 lines of 40 braille characters, which actually 40 braille cells is the standard for braille paper. But 9 lines? Honestly, that's amazing. You can do that on a multi-line display like this. Yes, the refresh rate on this display is actually pretty, I wouldn't say it's bad, but you can still read. And while you're reading, they do have it to where it refreshes the rest of the display once you're done reading it. So it's really nice having that kind of thing going for it. The Canute will cost about $3,500 to get from Dancing Dots themselves because they actually distribute it. So definitely take a look into that. And before you complain about the price, honestly, for this display, and it's an e-reader, it's actually a pretty good price. It's a steal. As you listen to the rest of this multi-line segment, pay attention to the pricing that we'll give you for other displays. Now then, Bristol Braille, who is actually the maker of the Canute, based out of the United Kingdom, also made a new variant called the Canute Console Premium. That's a lot to say, but once I explain what this thing does, you're going to be pretty surprised. So, this is a basic computer, literally, because it has the braille display that I mentioned a bit ago, the Canute. There is a keyboard that tucks away, or you can pull it back out to type. And then also, you have a visual monitor for the sighted people. So you can actually go in there and write documents, do things like that. And both sighted and blind people can work together on this display. It still has the same 9 by 40 on the braille cells because it's the same display. And you can even buy it without the display if you already have a Canute. But apparently, according to the website, you can not only type documents and read books, you can also play games. You can even make your own programs, which will be very interesting to know. So right now, I have not seen any U.S. dealers as of this recording distribute this variant of the device, but you can always go online and check it out, and we'll put Bristol Braille's website on the show notes. In U.S. dollars, because it is a lot more expensive, the Canute console, so with all the accessories, the monitor, the braille display, other accessories, are $7,000 in total as of right now with the exchange rate. So it would actually be $49.95 in British pounds.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Teachavision. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to check out previous shows, which are equally informative and fun as this one. Make sure to also check out our website at screenlessallies.com. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/ScreenlessAlliesOfficial. Do you have any suggestions or comments? Why not email us, info@screenlessallies.com. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.